everyone, welcome to Gardening TLC. I am Michelle. I live in Northern Illinois Zone 5. Today I have a great video for you guys. We are going to get the design program back out and we are going to do a mixed border design. How many of you have that narrower bed in your yard, whether it's a side bed or along your house or along a fence or somewhere in your yard where you just don't have a very wide bed, but you want it to look very cohesive and you want everything to intermingle? Well, that's the design that we're going to do today. We're going to use deciduous shrubs, conifers, and perennials, and I'm going to show you how to intermingle them all together. So come along and let's check it out. Before we jump in, I want to go over two things. One is the design software that I use. It's a professional design software that I used when I was a professional landscape designer and I charged to do designs, and it was part of the business and the department that I ran when I ran the landscape division for my company. It's called Pro Landscapes and it's not cheap. It's like $1,500. So if you're a landscaper watching this and you're looking for some design software that's pretty easy to learn, I would highly recommend it. If you're a homeowner, yeah, that's a pretty steep price to pay for just some design software. And I wish I could find one that I could recommend to you guys. But so far, I have yet to find one that I would yoke my name to. Although I do continue to look for that software for you guys, because I know that a lot of you always ask that question whenever I do a design video. The second thing I want to talk about is I love you guys, and I love that I am able to inspire and teach and give lots of ideas to people on YouTube. With that being said, I cannot do design. I'm trying to retire from that part of my life, and it's not an avenue that I want to travel down as far as doing designs for people. I inevitably get at least 15 emails every time I do a design video of people asking me to do designs. I hate saying no, so it's just better if you don't send me an ask on that, because I will say no. And I hope that in the future I cover something in my designs or my videos that will help you with your unique situation. So I just wanted to put that out there. All right, let's jump into the design. This is the area that we are going to do the design. Now, the design doesn't have to go along a fence. You could go along your house or any other place where you have a skinny bed that you're trying to make look really good. So this fence right now is 54 feet long and 4 feet wide. I am going to make it 2.5 feet wider so that by the time we're done, it's 6.5 feet wide. And when I start my planting, I'm going to be 2 feet away from the fence because I don't want anything growing up on the fence. Now, Candy has bought these beautiful metal panels that she got at Home Depot and put them on the fence. They're centered on each of the fence panels that create the fence as a whole. I love these things. I'm going to find a place at my house to incorporate one of these or two of these or three of these, even if I have to build a frame. Metal fence panels, I love these. I think they're so cool. Now, the light requirements of this bed are at least 6 hours, 8 or more would be better. Most of the plants that I'm putting in here are what we call part sun, full sun plants, and all of them are under 5 feet. So nothing really giant, big in this bed, but everything is going to blend really well together. Whenever I'm doing a mixed border, I always like to do the large things first. So in this case, I'm going to mirror my anchor plants on either end of the bed. Now, I do have a focal that will go in the center, but I've positioned the larger pieces to go in between the panels. That way we can still see them. That way I can intermingle all of the perennials that we're going to pull through here that are shorter in front of the panels, and that way we don't hide them. So let's talk about the 3 anchors that I'm putting in here. Our color palette is purple, yellow, and white. Now, on either end of the garden bed, we have chosen rose mallow hibiscus. This is a perennial. This one is from Proven Winners, and it's the Berry Awesome. It's the exact same one that I have growing in my cottage garden along the side of the big red shed. I love this one. It is so beautiful. It gets like 7 to 8 inch ruffled flowers on it that's got this really deep, like cherry, almost hot pink reddish center. Absolutely gorgeous, super long blooming. Now, you can deadhead them if you want, but you don't have to. I never deadhead mine. They just keep producing and producing, and they bloom for a super long time. Now, remember with rose mallow hibiscus, you do not cut them back in the fall. You cut them back in the spring, and the longer you have them, the thicker they get. You might have to get like a little saw out to cut them back. Also, don't give up on them. They are one of the ones that comes up really late in the spring and you think it died and then they come up. So just be patient with those. It is best to plant hibiscus in the spring or the fall. It's not really a great one to plant in the middle of the summer. So we are doing this in the next couple weeks and we're pushing into fall. Our temperatures this month, though, oh my goodness, who knew August could be like this? Unreal. Temperatures in the upper 70s, lower 80s. Crazy. All right. The other thing about hibiscus that I love, they are deer resistant, at least here where I live. We're going to plant two calicarpas or two beauty berries. I like the Pearl Glam from Proven Winners. This thing is a show-stopping beauty. I love the purple-hued foliage that it has from spring until frost. I love the shape. It kind of grows up in a V, and then it's got this rounded top on it. I like that you cut it back to the ground every year, and then you get a new, fresh flush of growth on it, especially here in Zone 5. And in the summer, you get the little white flowers all over it, followed by, oh my gosh, a gazillion pink berries. This guy only gets 5 feet high and 4 feet wide, so it's the perfect size for our bed, and it's going to look good all summer long. I have chosen the Green Mountain Boxwood as my other anchor and my winter interest evergreen. I love these things. They hold their green color through the winter, and they have this nice deep dark green. It is a different green than the like olive green of that fence, and they're going to look absolutely fabulous. They also give your eye a place to rest and give me a little bit of height in the bed that I'm looking for. They only get 5 feet high and 3 feet wide. Now, the one thing to remember when you're planting new boxwoods is you want to make sure you water them all the way until the ground freezes the first couple years. It is really important that they stay hydrated. I also will use wilt stop on them and totally saturate their needles or their little round leaves going into winter. They don't have the ability to pull water up through their roots in the winter, and they can dry out if you don't get them well established those first couple years. Now, they are drought tolerant and they do hold their color all winter long. They will grow in full sun, part shade. They're deer resistant, rabbit resistant. This is a great little conical boxwood to put in here. They naturally have that shape, but you do have to help them a little bit with some pruning, which that's pretty easy maintenance if that's all he has to do. Well, we have to have winter interest, so we are going to be adding conifers next. I am using all low-growing conifers, and I'm using a combination of colors. This is where I'm going to pull my blue, but I'm also going to pull a green with a little bit of some yellow tips. Let's talk about the two conifers that we're putting in the bed. I love using blue star junipers as my blue element. They are so pretty in the landscape, and they're not crazy big. So they're a perfect fit in a bed that doesn't have very much width to it because they only grow 3 to 4 feet wide and 2 to 3 feet tall. That is over like 10 years. They're pretty slow growers, but look at that icy blue foliage. Isn't that great? They grow in zone 4 through 8 and they're deer and rabbit resistant. Now, they don't grow like a ground hugging juniper. They actually mound a little bit and they have a little bit of a layering effect to them. I love this. We're actually going to put 6 of them in the bed, 3 on either side. This is a really pretty juniper. I really like it. This is actually a picture of one that's in our parking lot bed, and I have them in a couple places. This one is 3 years old, and it's called Dobbs Frosted Juniper. And just like the name states, the tips are frosted like this really pretty yellow. It has a little bit of a blue-green color to it, the actual juniper itself. They only get 15 inches high, and they can spread 4 to 5 feet wide. But what's really cool about it is you can intermingle things with it and they'll grow and it'll look really cool. I love this juniper for the fact that it grows pretty much anywhere. It will grow in the crappiest soil you can imagine and still do well. And if you have erosion problems, this is a great shrub to solve that problem for you. They are growing in zone 4 through 9. And guess what? Yup, deer and rabbit don't like junipers, at least where I live. We are going to use a hydrangea as the star of the show. It's going to be pretty much in the center of the bed. We've added all of our conifers. We've got our anchors on the ends. Now we need this beautiful middle piece to shine. We are going to use the little lime punch as the star of the show in the center of the bed. I love this hydrangea. The size is perfect. 5 by 5, grows in zone 3 through 8. And I love this hydrangea. It starts lime green, turns white, and as that flower ages, the color travels up the panicle and it goes from pink to mauve to like this fruit punch red. And because it's a rebloomer, you'll have all 4 of those colors going on at one time on this shrub. You can leave it up all winter for interest, and then you just prune it back once the buds start to swell in the spring. Fertilize it once a year, easy care. I love hydrangeas, love this one. I have this one growing at my house as well. It's going to be beautiful as the centerpiece of this garden bed. Oh, sneak peek. This is what it's going to look like once all the perennials are in, but let's break it into two halves and look at each one a little closer. We're going to look at the left half first. And as you can see, I have moved things forward and back and intermingled different plants along the border to create that layered look that's not really layered. It's more like color blocking of different perennials down the bed in a color scheme that you're going for. So we're going to start all the way over on the left, and we're going to start with the echinacea that we chose, which is the Kismet yellow, and then we'll talk about the Russian sage, which we chose denim and lace. I have chosen the Kismet yellow coneflower, which is a hybrid of an echinacea, to put in the bed. I love this one. It's naturally shorter. So instead of having like a rangy one in there that might flop over or lean forward, this one is going to stay nice and compact. If you deadhead the flowers, it will bloom longer. Now, typically it starts blooming at the end of July and it'll go all the way until frost if you deadhead the flowers as you're going along. If you don't do that, it'll still look really good. The seed heads will be on there. It just might not bloom as long. They only get 18 to 24 inches tall and they're pretty compact. And they have this deep yellow bloom on them that's absolutely gorgeous. Now, the first year, you're going to have to do some good watering practices with it to get it semi-drought tolerant once you move into the further years and it ages and gets older. But this one is absolutely gorgeous. Perfect color for this end of the bed. Oh my, if you are looking for something easy to grow, I would highly recommend the Russian Sage Denim and Lace by Proven Winners. This is a winner, ding, 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 all the way. It is short and compact, and the color is fabulous. It's not all rangy like some of the Russian sages that you see. This guy only gets 32 inches high. Absolutely beautiful, drought tolerant once they get established, salt tolerant, deer resistant. They attract hummingbirds. Absolutely gorgeous, a nice color to add to the garden and super easy to grow. And oh, once they start blooming in July, they just continue to bloom until the end of the season. You cut them back once a year and that's it. Can you see how I wove the different plants in between each other? Some of them back, some of them forward, some of them scooched over to the right or the left to make them intermingle. That really has to do with how you place them in the bed when you're planting them. And if you want to see that live, we will be planting this in like 2 weeks, and you're going to be able to see all the placement of that. If you tune in, you can check that out as well. Now, the next two perennials that we're putting in the bed are a Salvia. We're going to do the Snow Hill, and we're going to do another Kismet echinacea, this one called Raspberry. Let's check them out. I grew this perennial for the first time like 6 years ago when we did a bed at the garden center and I needed some white, and I had some of these left over and I put them in the bed, and then I was like, oh my gosh, I love these. Out of all the salvias I've ever grown, these guys bloom for a super long time, and they're very dense and compact, and the flowers are right on the top of the mound as it grows. And just like any other salvia, when it's done blooming, you can cut it back and you'll get that sporadic reblooming through the summer, and then another flush will come up later in the season. I really like this for a white in the garden because it looks so dense and full and together in the garden. Only 18 to 24 inches high. They're deer resistant. They want full sun. They're easy to grow. Fertilize them in the spring, and you can't go wrong with this salvia. I am putting more echinacea in the bed because, one, they're super easy to grow, but I'm staying with the Kismet series, but this time I'm going to choose the raspberry. The raspberry has this fabulous color on it. It's a really deep, dark purple, and it's really vibrant in the garden. Again, these are shorter, only 18 inches, maybe 24 inches tall. They're nice and compact. They don't flop open or fall over. They look really good. Zone 4 through 10, deer resistant. They're drought resistant once you get them established. They'll grow in heavy clay. Fertilize them once a year. Oh my goodness, what's not to love about this plant? Absolutely the perfect color in the bed. The last perennial that we're going to put on the left side will be, yep, Aliums. You knew I couldn't do a bed without putting Aliums in it. I am choosing the Millenniums. They're one of my favorites. I have been growing Aliums for years. They are so dependable, so easy to grow, so carefree. Pests don't bother them. Diseases don't bother them. I mean, deer don't bother them. Rabbit don't bother them. They're the perfect size, 20 inches high, 15 inches wide. The foliage looks good even when the flowers aren't on there. They're one of the first foliages to come up in the spring, and they look good when they're growing. I love the purple billy balls on them. Oh, what's not to love about this plant? I don't know. If you don't have alliums in your garden, you should get some because they are awesome. Let's move on to the right side of the bed, get a little bit closer so you can see what we're doing. And again, we're intermingling those perennials in and out, staying with our purple and yellow color palette. We are going to talk about the Latris and the Rebeca next. We are going to plant Latris. You might also know it as gay feather. We are going to use the cobalt, which is the dwarf cultivar, because I don't want anything that's tall and leggy that can fall over in the bed or that has to be staked. Remember, this is supposed to be low maintenance. These guys bloom in July, and I love the color on them, and I love the spiky flower. You can even cut the flowers off and use them in vase arrangements. They have a super long vase life. We use them at the floral store all the time. These guys grow in zone 4 through 9, and they are pretty drought tolerant once you get them established. Also, deer and rabbit don't like these either. So I think this is the perfect addition when I'm looking for kind of a tall, spiky flower to put in the bed in the middle of the summer. Blooming, great shape, great foliage, great flower. Perfect. I tried the American Gold Rush Rebeca for the first time last year. I put it in my cottage garden. So far, I am loving this plant. I chose it because last year it was the 2023 Perennial Plant Association's Plant of the Year. So I'm like, oh, I'm going to try that, because to make that list, you've got to hit some pretty serious check marks on the category checklist that they use to pick their perennials. So we're going to put it in Candy's garden too. I like that it's got that long, narrow leaf, and it's resistant to septoria leaf spot, which is a pretty common problem with black-eyed Susans. This one is pretty compact, only getting 22 to 26 inches high, maybe 3.5 feet wide. I really like it. Blooms like late July, usually all the way until September. Deer resistant, full sun. Oh, I think this is going to be awesome. One last perennial in the bed, and we're going to choose a sedum with a little bit of drama. Let's check it out. I knew I was putting sedum in the bed, but I knew that I wasn't just going to put any old run-of-the-mill sedum. I wanted something with contrast and drama, so I chose the Rock and Grow Back in Black sedum. I have one growing in my gardens at my house, and I want more. The foliage on these is like this black color, and when the flowers come out in the fall, the petals are cream, and then they have like a red center. They are very like round and compact. I love this plant. They're heat, salt, and drought tolerant. They're rabbit resistant. Oh, they're just gorgeous. I love them. And I love the dark foliage up against that hibiscus. I think that's going to look great together. Now, the one thing to remember with sedum is they don't want to be fertilized ever. There it is in all its glory. I love how this turned out. And if you want to see the installation of it, make sure you stay tuned for that. That'll happen in a couple weeks. That way you can see the exact placement of how I weave them in and out. Now, remember, if you love this, but you want a different color palette, a lot of these perennials come in different colors. So you can choose a different color, or maybe even a different plant if it's got the same shape and the same size. Also, when you're doing a smaller bed like this, don't choose shrubs that are so large that they aren't going to fit in the space, and you're trying to force a 9-foot shrub to be 4 feet big. That just doesn't work for the shrub or for you. So make sure you keep it within the parameters of the size you're working in. That's all I've got for today, you guys. I hope you enjoyed today's video and that it inspired you to get out in your garden, gave you some ideas, and hopefully helped you maybe to create a bed that you've been struggling with, or just gave you ideas to finish one off. We are so excited about the garden tours that we have been presenting. I believe there's like 3 or 4 more coming up over the next couple weeks as I've been visiting different gardens and touring them. They're all viewers just like you guys. They are so inspiring, and it is so wonderful that these people open up their gardens for us to come through and see them. And you know what the best part is? I know that when I have friends or family come over, I'm like, let's go look at the garden. And they're like, yeah, whatever, because they're not gardeners. When gardeners get together, oh my goodness, it is an exciting mix of energy and just inspiration. And so join us on those garden tours. They are awesome. Also, don't forget, we're still doing Garden Gap. That is where we're answering questions about the videos. I'm doing like 2 weeks at a time now. They're always going to be the first and third Saturdays of the month. The live was a flop. For those of you that tuned in, thank you so much, but I'm not doing that again. I didn't like it. So I'm just going to stick with the format that I know works. I want to share your viewer pictures. So what we do is, if you have something in your garden that you absolutely love right now in the month that we're in, take a picture in a landscape format like this and send it to the email address right here. I would love to share something that you love in your garden with everybody else. And don't forget, I need to know who you are, where you live, what we're looking at, and what zone it is. So I'm Michelle. I hope you get out in your garden today. It deserves some TLC, and don't forget, so do you. I'll see you guys later. Bye, everybody.